They said it. Now we speaking on it. I'm Mr. Telescope. Welcome to the Telescope channel.
The Telescope channel. Shout out to you, man. Hit that like button. Y'all niggas get to class.
I see you got that motherfucking light in the background and shit. Y'all know the Telescope channel? Neighborhood show, you know the Telescope channel?
These niggas, the stink team was, but you see what happened. Hold on, let me bring bro in. Telescope.
Yo. Hey, what's going on, family and visitors? Peace and blessings to you all. Welcome to the Telescope channel. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification bell in the bottom corner. Here at the Telescope channel, we're going to be diving in from everything from music to religion, sports, and all other current events. Subscribe to the channel so you can stay updated. Let's go get it in.
Line. Oh, yes, we do draw the line. Foundational Black Americans, Black people who descended from slaves in America. That's very clear. No other group should get slave reparations because no other group was enslaved over here like that.
Right.
It was us, one group of people, and that is us, our people.
Yes.
So it's not rocket science, sir.
I agree with that. I'm not denying that. But my question would be, should a country, I'm saying this in good faith, by the way, completely good faith.
Yes. Okay.
Should Italy, modern day Italy, should they pay the modern day United Kingdom reparations because 1500 years ago, the Roman Empire enslaved English people?
Well, you don't have the Roman Empire anymore. There's no Roman Empire. That government, as it existed years ago, doesn't exist anymore. So that's obsolete. The government that enslaved us, it's still here. The government is still here. The same constitution is here, just a few amendments here and there. This is the same government. So the same government that aggrieved us back in antebellum slavery is still here, reaping the benefits and passing down the wealth generated from that enslavement.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been locked out of that. So there's a debt that is owed to us. So we have nothing to do with that comparison as far as Italy and England or whatever. We are still here. We didn't leave. We didn't flee. We're still here under this government, and we're still being economically locked out of the money our family generated for this country. And we need that paper. That makes sense?
Yeah, that completely makes sense. I also do want to say that I really respect your argument that this is your country and we're going to stay here and fight, because too many people have a mentality of, oh, this place sucks, I'm going to go off and somewhere else. And you have a mentality of, we're going to stay and fight for the place that we built, which I think is a good mentality. And then one other question I wanted to ask is, so you've been saying, you said 5 minutes ago about how you want cash payments because if the white people give you land, then they'll be messing with you like they have for 400 years. Do you think in your ideal world, is there a future of a multiracial democracy between white people and black people, or would you want to have some sort of separated thing so that way the white people will stop messing with you guys?
What we have to have is a system of justice, okay? We can't have a system of white supremacy, this thing where people who believe in white supremacy feel like they have to dominate and control and mistreat the non-white people. That's just not going to work in the long run. It's not working now. It's kind of unraveling now. And the only way they're maintaining that system now is because of military force. That's why they spend $1 gazillion in military. All of the domestic military weaponry they use just for foundational Black Americans. The problem is, and many historians have said this, when they have to subjugate a group of people militarily, that's the beginning of the decline of a society majorly, because the money is going to run out eventually. You can't keep dumping all of your money into military protection from a specific group of people. This is why they like to try to manipulate us and deceive us politically and other ways so they can kind of save money. If they can manipulate us and have us manipulate ourselves, that would be better because they wouldn't have to do military enforcement. So deception is the better thing. But we're not being so easily deceived now. And again, they just can't keep dumping money. You can't keep rolling out tanks and weapons and rockets. And your money is going to run out. And when the money runs out, that's when the real problems are going to start. So it's best to just produce justice because foundational Black Americans, we're very resilient and we have time and we're always going to keep standing up for justice. So you might as well start producing it now.
I would disagree a little bit that that America like in the 1700s was using the United States military to crush slave revolts. And we as a country we've used the military to kind of oppress Black people since day one. So I don't think that that's a sign necessarily of it ending anytime soon. Is that the
Now listen,
military is getting involved?
let me give you an example.
Hmm.
How slavery really ended. Because
Hmm.
what happened, and I'm doing a documentary about this, in the mid 1800s, the United States was losing a lot of money because they were fighting the Black Seminoles down in Florida. And they like to keep quiet about this because this has been somewhat of an embarrassment for the United States. The US government was losing the battle against the Black Seminoles. The Black Seminoles were whooping their asses in Florida. They couldn't beat them and they were losing money. The military was getting beaten. They were throwing so much money down there, and they were telling the people that they were fighting the Red Indians, but they didn't want to tell the people that they were really trying to recover runaway slaves down in Florida. That's what it was really about. They didn't want to tell the public that though, and they were losing government money. Also, Black people were burning down plantations in Florida left and right. So that was affecting the insurance companies. They had to pay out a lot of stuff. So that was messing with the American economy. So they had to come to a deal and they had to send the Black Seminoles out west. So that crippled the economy to a certain degree. And then the Civil War popped off. So that was another thing. So all of these things happening back to back. That's why they had to stop and say slavery. We will just formal slavery. We have to cut it out because that's economically harming the country, that's causing too many rifts. So again, trying to fight something militarily like that, it causes a ripple effect, and that causes another ripple effect, and then that just messes up all the money, and then everything goes to hell. So it's best to just produce justice. Again, they weren't winning these battles down in the South. Some of these slave revolts were more successful than they like to tell you. But again, that's the story for another day.
I do have to ask, what do you think about Abraham Lincoln's plan in the 1860s of Liberia and sending
Yeah,
all of the
yeah, yeah. He also wanted to send people to Panama. They wanted to send people
Mhm.
to a few places. Yeah, the Liberian thing. Yeah, that was another con game. Most Black people didn't want to go to Liberia because we knew that we weren't. A lot of Black people were not actually from Africa culturally. Black people have been on this land for centuries, even centuries before Columbus. So Black people knew they were not culturally African. Some Black people respected Africa. They understood that. Frederick Douglass was one of the people who was vehemently against Black people going to Africa. He said, hey, this is our homeland. This is where we're from. We've been here and we're going to stay and fight here. What they sent to Liberia were a bunch of free Black people who were the children of white slave owners, to be honest. Also, they sent a lot of Caribbeans over there to Liberia. And there was some interesting things going on over there. It was too many culture clashes over there. The Black Americans did help stop the slave trade because they were still engaging in the slave trade over there in Liberia and the west coast of Africa. So they stopped a lot of that. But there was a
They
lot
still
of
are.
yeah, absolutely. I do agree with that. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff that we just couldn't get down with. We were clashing culturally, so that wasn't a good look. So Black folks here decided, hey, we're going to stay and fight for what we have here.
Um, I'm curious, have you ever taken any form of DNA test or done ancestry research to find out where your family was like 600 years ago?
Yeah, I have. What's interesting, it's like 30% of my shit goes to Europe somewhere. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm
I
like,
think that's pretty common, and
yeah,
that's something that they don't talk about in schools because it's a pretty nasty history. But yeah, that's pretty common with, I guess, FBAs of being like
Yeah,
30% European.
yeah. So I have a small percentage of some Native American tribe over here, which the markers they don't know. I don't know which markers they're using because with Native American tribes, it's interesting because certain tribes were kind of named by the Spanish and other Europeans when they came. So, for example, there's no such thing as the Creek Indians. It was just a bunch of Indians living by a creek, and the white people guys are the Creek Indians. The
Right.
Navajo Indians, that's not even their name. They're called the Dene. The Navajo, I think that's an amalgamation of the word thief. So in Seminole, that Seminole means Cimarron, which is runaway. So they were giving people these names. So I don't know what markers they're using to determine who's who over here. The lineage here is real fuzzy. So they just kind of trace everybody back to three places: Europe, Asia, and Africa. And
Yeah.
when you do DNA tests, that's where it goes. So that's kind of vague within itself, you know.
Well, most Native Americans are descended. They're closely
Asia,
related to like China and stuff.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
The Mongolian,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Because they came over. So yeah, if you do a DNA test on a Native American, it'll probably just say Asia somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
And even black people who were indigenous here, you can have black people who have lineage in the Americas for like 500, 600, or even 700 years, or even hell, 1,000 years, and the DNA will just go to Africa, you know.
Hmm.
So that's just what it is.
Yeah. Ancestry. I think everyone should get involved in ancestry and just learn about the story of their ancestors and what they went through, and it'll be a positive thing for just about everyone.
Yes,
Yep.
indeed. Yes, indeed. I thank you so much, Jeff,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. But one thing I just want to say, I'm a white guy, I'm an Anglo, but if I was black, I would love you and all of your content. But it's like I respect you, and I think everything you do is awesome. But like, it's like it's two different things. It's like I can respect you and think what you're doing is really cool, but it's not about my people. Do you get that?
Yeah, but why wouldn't white people like me? Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, yeah, because you're a cool guy and you're funny.
Right, right. And yeah, and I
Yeah,
tell the truth. I'm not saying anything that's incorrect, and
yeah,
I'm not even being mean spirited about it. I'm not
right.
one of these people. Hey, you dumb cracker! I don't do all that. I'm
Yeah.
very polite to people. I'm just telling the truth about history. Yeah,
And you're doing it in a way that people aren't getting from anywhere else.
right,
Like the narrative from CNN of if you're black, you're just supposed to vote for the Democratic Party until
right,
the day you die.
right,
Whereas you're saying something that a lot of people have never heard before.
right. Yeah, the Democrats like to put all the racism on the right wing people, and no, yeah, they're not going to do that. No, the Democrats are damn near worse than them as far as racism. Yeah, so the
Yeah.
Democrats are not going to get a pass doing that. So, all
Yeah.
right, my man, let me get some other folks on here, man.
All
But I
right.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
All
you.
right, all right. Let's see. We got who is this woman? We got Sweet and Low.
Hey, what's going on, family? Y'all already know what it is. I'm Mr. Telescope, and you're now watching the Telescope channel.
Get Sweet and Low in here. All right, Sweet and Low, hop on, ma'am.
Hi, so I'm not going to get like political or anything on here. My mind is blown right now because my dad was American Indian. We're registered Choctaw, but
Uh
my
huh.
mom is Swedish Norwegian. So all of this conversation is blowing my mind right now. I had no idea. Like, do how? Where can I go to get more information on the things that you're talking about?
Well, you can go get my book on Amazon. I got a book called Foundational Black American Race Beta. It's on Amazon. And you get that now. I talk about a lot of this stuff, and it has other references that you can check out as well from other.
Okay, that would be awesome. Is there any way you could send that to me? Can you message me that
Yeah, just
information?
go to
Because
Amazon. You just go to and you can go to Amazon and just type in Foundational Black American Race Beta, and the book will come up. It's real easy.
okay, awesome. I'm going to do that. Thank you. I don't want to take anyone else's time.
So much. All right, let me see. Let's get Dave in here. I think Dave is up there in Canada, right? Let's get Dave here. Hop on, Dave. Shout out to everybody in the room. We are deep in the room tonight. Dave, hop in.
Hello.
Hey, Dave, how are
Oh,
you?
good. I'm from Canada, and I do a lot of work. I'm white, but I do a lot of work with the First Peoples here in Canada, and we got a lot going on. And I happened to about, I guess, 4 days ago, Ice Cube went on Facebook. He hardly ever does, but he was pretty down in the dumps, and he was going on about the history of slavery and being repatriated by the government. And I've gone through North America in First Peoples history, right through American Indian, Canadian Indian. They are the same people. They still have the same treaty rights to cross border over all of us, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I'd go through colonialism, all the colonials, the entirety of America's history from the 13 colonies in independence, all the way through America. And I mean all of them. Slavery of Spain brought to Americas through South America, all the way up into the United States. I've seen the entirety of the French, all the way through to Louisiana and beyond. British, obviously, we all know that history, and that's both sides. And when we talk about reparation, like I just Caribbean islands, I've gone through all those people. I'm looking at Belize, Jamaica, we're crown, obviously in Canada. I don't know if you guys realize that, and they're ditching their crown. Those Caribbean, African descendants, they're ditching the crown. They've had enough of that. And I
Right.
guess my question for you is, if you were to go, like what I'm going to be doing, I'm coming to the United States and I want to go state by state. Myself and my girlfriend, she's a Treaty 4 Indian. I know that doesn't make much sense to you folks there, but they, when we look at all these different colonial histories for all of America and everything America fought, I mean, perpetual state of war since independence, all those colonials who brought slavery and atrocity in different ways, all against African Americans with history from all over the world, whether they were taken directly in Africa or taken from Asia, Europe, and that's happened. Would you guys be interested in looking at repatriation of the entire colonials per each state and peoples and their state history in percentage wise? Because I look at that for the First Peoples. I know that the American Indian today, 6.7 million in the United States of America, they're not going to be down. Like, I don't know if you guys realize this. It's nation within a nation in the United States, and they have about basically 135% more land than all Canadians and all our First Peoples combined. That's Inuit, Métis, and of course ceded and unceded Indians because of our unavailability to crown land. But you guys are all seated there, and if we get into repatriation, that starts to grab at the American Indian. And if you looked at that, and would repatriation, if we could target colonials, be an avenue
Now, repatriate to where?
to African Americans in the United States in the absolute history of slavery, and even worse, guys. Like I know,
No. Slow down, because you're all over the place. Now, repatriate. You go somewhere. You leave one place and go somewhere else. Go where?
I'm not saying go anywhere. What I'm saying is, well, I'm not saying go anywhere, but I guess repatriation with lands, like there are jewels all over the Caribbean here that there are no African Americans besides a mobile workforce from Europe. That's the
Okay, I'm gonna have to let him go. I have to let him go. I don't know what he's talking about, guys. I'm trying to give him a chance. He's just kind of rant. I have no idea what he's talking about, to be honest, and I just don't know. I tried to give him a chance, and yeah, he was just kind of all over the place. I wasn't getting the gist of where he was going, so I just had to let that slide. Dave, I'm sorry, bro. I didn't know what you were talking about, brother. And I'm pretty sure everybody else in the room was a little confused. I'm trying to give you a chance, but this was, I don't know where you were going. Who did I just put on? I put somebody on. Let me see. Let's get Hussein, what's that? Hunsnai, whatever your name is. Hunsnai. Okay. Hunsnai. I think that's your name. Okay, he got out of here. Okay, come on now. Don't hop on here if you don't want to get on. And the people are just flicking around back and forth. Let's raise your hand if you want to get on. Raise your hand if you want to get on. And by the way, my book, Foundational Black American Race Beta, is available right now on Amazon. You can get that on Amazon right now, ladies and gentlemen. Foundational Black American Race Beta on Amazon right now. All right, let's get raise your hand. Let me see some hands in here. Who is this person? Let's get advocacy journalist in here. Let's get this person in. All right, then we'll get Moataz. I get you in next, Moataz. But advocacy journalism, hop on.
Hi there, Tariq. My name is Suzanne Simon. I'm the chief editor for George Floyd News. Have good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm definitely non-FBA. I used to, up until 3 months ago or so, I used to answer your next question, what I know it might be, refer to myself as German Italian, but now I've been learning from FBA and Native Americans and freedmen and everybody, and I started 3 months ago looking up my lineage, and it goes back to Middle Eastern and African. So I don't know what to call myself yet, but I'm definitely white and definitely non-FBA, second generation American.
So, where in the Middle East did your family come from?
It was called Media back as far as I can go, and then that doesn't exist anymore. It was taken over by Alexander the Great, and now it was Media and Persia. Then it was turned into Iran, which we call Iran now, and something else overlaps it, where the Kurdish people were originally from before they moved to Iraq.
Now, your great grandparents, because if you thought you were German, Irish, or whatever, you were only a few generations here. Where did your grandparents come from?
German, and then the other set came from Italy.
Got it. Okay. And what state are you in now?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. There you go. So what's on your mind, ma'am?
Oh, I'm just chiming in because I'm allowed, because it says non-FBA.
Yes. Okay.
So I just wanted to say hello to you. I've been listening to some of these people. That guy from Canada was definitely throwing some word salad at you.
Yeah. I was trying to follow him, but yeah, I just lost my man. But anyway, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let me get Moataz in here. Moataz.
Hey, Tariq. Thanks for having me on and letting me speak. I actually first heard of you about a year or so ago, and I remember I think it was Kevin Hart that threw some shade at you in some comment somewhere. And I didn't really follow you much since then, but you've certainly grown quite a bit. So congratulations on that.
Thank
you. So it's really interesting listening to you speak, and I'm trying to see if I can connect the dots with some of the other movements that have come in the past, because one of the disconnects that I see in your messaging is that it's very much about foundational Black Americans. And for me, I think the problem is a lot more universal. I mean, kudos to you that you want to focus on that group. I'm not against that at all. As a matter of fact, I support it. There's nothing wrong with that. I have my own groups that I want to focus on as well.
Right.
But I always wonder if we would all have so much more success if we had a more universal approach to remedying what is essentially an illness that we are the symptom of. And that's the way the United States has been run for the last 400 plus years. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Let me chime in. Now, I see a flag in your profile. Now, where you from?
Well, I'm Egyptian. Ancestry-wise, I'm Egyptian. And actually, I've done my genealogy, and I'm predominantly African, West African. But I do have a little bit of European in me.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. You should have Turk in you. A lot of the Egyptians are actually Turkish.
No Turk in me whatsoever.
Okay.
I get where you're going, but
Yeah,
no Turk in
yeah,
me whatsoever. And
yeah.
I, and I'm an American citizen as well, so I'm an
Got it.
American as well.
Because I want the audience to know when somebody says they're Egyptian, that's not like the ancient Kemetic people back in the prehistoric days. It's not like them. Most of the people there now are Arab Turks, so they're not the same as the people who built the pyramids.
I got to tell you, you're wrong about that. And I don't mean to cut you off, but you're
Go ahead.
wrong about that. So I'll tell you, my background is from the south of Egypt. I mean, I could trace that West African side of me that goes way back to like ancient Egypt. So, and there's a lot of Egyptians like that, but they don't live in the north. And the north
Okay.
is only about 20 or 30 million Egyptians. And Egypt's
Right.
got 130 million people in it, or 120 million people in it. So, but anyways, go ahead.
The ones down in the south, yeah, they're jet black. Yeah, those are black folks for real. Those are black people down there. Now, are you an Arab or Muslim?
I don't consider myself an Arab.
Okay.
And Arabs, if you go by genealogy, are the folks who are in the island of Arabia, which south is Yemen, north is Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. It's the Arabian Peninsula.
Right,
And then there are people who identify as Arab because they speak Arabic, and
right,
I'm not one of those folks. I speak Arabic, but I don't identify as Arab because I speak Arabic. So there's a disconnect there, and we could probably have a whole talk about
right.
it.
Because again, when I was over there, I met some people down in southern Egypt, and they were totally different from the ones in the north. The ones in the southern part, they were like, proud of their blackness. They're like, I'm black. All this shit is black, 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 black. So they look like me. The ones up there in Cairo, they were the more lighter, Middle Eastern, quote unquote, Arab looking. But that's another thing. So what you were saying. Um, why should we focus on foundational Black Americans? Should we focus on diversity more? The problem is the only people who's been focusing on the diversity melting pot narrative is foundational Black Americans. We are literally the only group that has a diverse melting pot narrative within our culture. Other groups don't have that diversity. White people, when y'all come over here from the Middle East or whatever, you're not living among white people in large numbers. And if one or two of you live among white people, they have to screen you and make sure that you leave your culture way back home. They don't play that. Other groups don't play that diversity thing. We are the only group who's been on the diverse thing, and we've done it to our chagrin because now we've allowed other people to kind of bury us culturally, extrapolate resources and culture from us, and that has kind of left us destitute. So now we're gatekeeping our culture to a certain degree, and we're prioritizing getting tangibles for foundational Black Americans because we've helped so many other groups come over and thrive, and we've neglected ourselves for so long because of this non-existent minority diversity coalition. So we can't have something that has never really existed except in Black society, and it just doesn't work for us anymore. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does if your launching point, which it sounds to me like is your launching point, is identity. I'm, my perspective really focused on the disease itself. I mean, for me, America is basically a colonialist pirate enterprise that conquers territory. First, it started with conquering territory within North America, and then thereafter, it's gone out and it's been conquering territory outside of North America. And if you look at it from that perspective, if that is the disease, then what you're talking about is a band-aid, or dealing with one symptom of the disease. If you listen to guys like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, especially, they were really at it for years and years, just toe to toe with the American empire. And the conclusion both of them arrived at is they need to have a more universal approach if they're really going to resolve the problem. And ironically enough, well, not ironically at all, really, that's when they were taken out, when they started to have a universal message. That's when Malcolm X was killed. That's when Martin Luther King was killed. So, I really do wonder if that is the right way, which is why when folks get to that point, and if they're leaders and they're in leadership roles, they're eliminated by the system.
Well, here's the thing. It's not just the American empire. The problem is not just America. The problem is global white supremacy. Because understand, Even in Britain, Britain has conquered most of these countries and done the same thing America has done. Britain and the white supremacists here, they're cousins. They run neck and neck. The white supremacists from America came out of Britain. Remember, the British also went into India, conquering and dominating and mistreating the people. The Britons went over there to Australia and wiped out all the Tasmanians in the very next island. They've been committing genocide all over the planet. All of the white supremacists, not just America, they're all working together. They are all allies in this genocidal white supremacist regime. So the problem is only one group is consistently fighting white supremacy. Let's be very honest. All of these other groups have been psychologically conquered, not just physically conquered, because we're physically conquered. All of us are physically conquered, but we're not psychologically conquered, meaning we're still fighting the white supremacists. Us as foundational Black Americans. Other groups are just trying to come along and they're trying to get a good deal under it. They don't have a problem being second fiddle. They don't have a problem being an honorary white supremacist as long as they don't get treated like black folks. See, they've created a racial hierarchy with black people on the bottom. And the white supremacists, they've dangled this carrot to all of these other groups. They said, hey, look, we'll let you be second fiddle. We won't be as hard on you as long as you don't really ally with those folks on the bottom. That's why nobody allies with us. We've always been on our own. So there is no diversity, coalition, whatever, unless y'all put in some work. You have to show and prove. If you want to show some diversity, help us get the money we need, the funds we need, and the fighting we need. Other than that, we don't have a coalition, and we're fine with that because we're on our own anyway. We need other folks to start fighting white supremacy where they are. Everybody's trying to come over here to what we built. We built the United States. Let's be very clear. The white supremacists didn't even do that. They failed when they tried to do it on their own. Foundational Black Americans built this spot, and we're the ones who fight for the resources and the justice that people get when they get over here. And that has to be respected. If it's not respected, we let everybody do their thing.
So I respect everything you said, and I totally get the points that you're making. I'm not even disagreeing with them.
Right.
I think we started this conversation with trying to figure out what the disease is,
Right.
because what I was trying to bring your attention to was maybe focusing on being a foundational Black American and focusing on how to remedy the wrongs that foundational Black Americans have suffered. Is only a symptom of the greater disease. And you hit the nail on the head when you first started, if I may say so. You're like, hey, listen, the white supremacists that are here, they started out in the UK, and before that, they were somewhere else, and these guys are going all over the world. And you're absolutely right about that. I agree. And so when I say, it's not, when I say it's America, you're right. I'm saying that because I'm an American, and so that's where I take my responsibility as an American. But the problem is absolutely global. It sure is.
Yes, it is.
But the head of the Hydra, I mean, is the United States at the moment. It used to be Great Britain, and somehow, that Anglo-Saxon white supremacist creed has taken over the American government, or maybe it was always there to begin with. They just did a really good job covering it. And to answer the last point you made, and I think this is really important for you, I strongly disagree that Black folks are always at the bottom of the totem pole. And I'll bring some really interesting examples to your attention. Because it's all about what mission white supremacy has at the time. And that's how it organizes its racial hierarchy at the time. So, Russians now are at the very bottom of the totem pole because white supremacy is going after Russia because it's got an agenda in Ukraine that Russia's standing in the way of. And that agenda in Ukraine is apparently seminal to white supremacy, right? And so that's why Russians are the new bottom of the racial or national totem pole, whichever way you want to look at it. But I'll also, and this is another great example. I'm sorry.
No. Let me. No. That's not it. No, they're not. They don't put them Russians on the bottom of the totem pole. No. See, we got to understand. Just because two white supremacists are fighting, that doesn't mean that they devalue one lower than black people. A lot of times they just fight to see who's going to control us. Let's be very, very clear. Just like when the United States was fighting Germany, the Nazis, they were treating the Nazi criminals better than they were treating black soldiers. The United States was fighting Nazi Germany. My family members, I had uncles going over there to Nazi Germany, fighting in Nazi Germany. And the some of those top brass Nazis were brought over to the United States and they got jobs with the American government, my family came back and had to deal with Jim Crow and racial segregation. So just because two groups of white supremacy are fighting, that doesn't mean that they devalue each other. Even in the Civil War, they were slaughtering each other in the Civil War. After the Civil War happened, they dusted each other off and said, okay, now let's get back to subjugating these Negroes. The laws against black people got even more oppressive after the Civil War. Just like with Russia, they're just having a little power trip right now. Once they get this stuff going and get it done, they're going to be back to business practicing white supremacy on the non-white people of the planet. So let's not say that the Russians are lower than black people on the racial pecking order in the system of white supremacy, because that's just not true. We got to be very clear with facts here.